Oh, hello everyone. Today we are having an enormously interesting interview with one of the best English teachers, ESL teachers, and TEFL teachers, John Durham, who is a friend of mine who is from Tennessee, the United States of America. So let me say that TEFL is a certificate that means teaching English as a foreign language. So this certificate gives an possibility for people for teachers, mainly for English teachers, to go overseas and to teach English abroad to speakers of other languages. So John decided to go and teach English to China, and he taught there for 3 years. And in this webinar, I would like to um, ask John about his teaching experience in China and how he got this certificate, TEFL certificate. Don't forget also to subscribe to our channel and click the bell button not to miss our interviews with interesting people and English classes. Hi, John. Pleased to see you. I haven't seen you for ages. How are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, and it is so nice to be talking with people in Ukraine. I love Ukraine. I love the people there. I have made almost 50 trips to Ukraine.
Wow, 50, 50 trips.
50. And the total time I've spent over there is well over a year. I've spent as much as 13, 14 weeks, and I kind of average now 4 or 5 weeks twice a year. So Ukraine is home away from home, and so I just appreciate you asking me to speak. You are the reason that I'm continuing to teach Ukraine, because you invited me to speak at King Daniel University. And that has turned out to be the most wonderful experience there. All the teachers, the students, the faculty, they're like family to me. So
really, but I just forgot about that fact that that was me who invited you.
It was you.
Yeah, so I'd like to mention that when I think of a great teacher, just your personality springs to mind. And so maybe today you'd like to share some experience with all English teachers and learners who would like to get a TEFL certificate and to go to China or like to different countries. And first of all, why did you decide to switch gears? Because as far as I remember, and you told me that you are a mathematician, so you have a bachelor's degree in math. So why did you decide to switch gears and to teach English overseas and to get this TEFL certificate?
Okay. Yes, I have a math major. Interestingly, I worked in information technology for 35 years. When I started, math majors were the closest thing to computer science majors. I am so old, we do not really have computer science majors, except in very few schools. We use the old punch cards,
Oh.
called IBM punch cards, and you had to punch them out, send them to a computer about 10 miles away. We did not have a computer at our university. So I started out at the ground floor, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoy being a project manager. I love that field of work. I enjoy organization and planning and things like that. Enjoyed that. I had an opportunity to retire early. I'd always wanted to do something where I gave back. I call it mission work. It's a ministry. It's something I've had a passion for since I was, well, as long as I can remember.
Volunteer work, maybe, yeah?
Do
Some
what?
volunteer work?
Volunteer work, exactly. I was a volunteer youth minister, is what it's called, and worked with high school students for 20 years, my wife and I, and taught class and all. I began teaching. We have a lot of Asians that have moved into Nashville and need to improve their English skills. We have a program that's called Friends Speak at our church, uses the Bible, and we teach English using an easy to read version of the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
And, I enjoyed that so much that a friend of mine heard about it, passed my name on to a group that places teachers in China. The next thing I know, I was sitting in Shanghai.
Mm-hmm. I see.
My wife and I prayerfully considered what it would mean for me to be gone. I was generally gone for about 12 weeks, 12 to 15 weeks at a time. Then I would come home for a month or two. In the winters where I taught are so cold, they just shut down the school. So from Christmas to March, I was back home, and then during the summers. So I was actually living in China for 3 years solid, just off and on, but it seemed like a long time. So
you didn't feel that time, yes? The 3
yeah,
years.
yes, I did.
Mhm. So after that TEFL, how can a person apply for the TEFL certificate? And
Well,
what are the tasks you were supposed to complete to receive that TEFL certificate?
The TEFL is really interesting. I went back and looked over my course material and how I signed up. I actually went online back to the school that I went to, ICAL. Applying is very easy, doesn't require any commitment. Don't even have to have a college degree. You just have to have some English ability. And you provide your personal data, choose what kind of course you want to take. They have different levels of courses. They have the basic course, which will just get you certified, all the way up to getting a degree program. And courses you can take online or you can take in person. I took an online course. It was out of England, and my tutor was in England, which was kind of interesting because we had the time delay like we do with Ukraine, and I was sent in a lesson. Yeah. You asked, I think the question, what was the biggest challenge for me? And it was the time frame. I had kind of committed to going to China, and I had to get the certification and all the things that I needed for the university that I was going to teach at in China. And so I did not take me long, May 17th to June 6th, if I remember correctly. But I spent a lot of time, about 100 hours, working on it. It was a new experience for me. I had taught informally. I had taught what we call Sunday school class. High school students for years. Had conducted hundreds and hundreds of meetings. That was one of my
online meetings, yes. Webinars, online meetings, like.
Yes. A lot of conference calls, a lot of in-person meetings with my peers, working on projects in IT. So I had a background in at least some public speaking of working with groups and teaching teenagers from the ages of, say, 13 to 18. So I had some background, and I had the experience of teaching English.
assignments mainly.
At church. So I had some background there. I had to put together lesson plans and brush up on my grammar and things like that. I consider myself using good grammar and all the rules. I don't remember all the names of them. I have forgotten them. It had been a long time since I had studied grammar.
I understand. What was the big challenge for you in getting the TEFL?
Really, it was going back to school. I had become certified in project management and had taken what is kind of a one-year master's level program at Georgetown University, George Washington University in Washington, D.C. So I was used to doing some coursework, but this was a little bit different. The lessons and assignments trying to get my mind into the teaching mode took a little bit of doing. And you ask about the material that we covered, and I tried to find some of that. I've still got it, but trying to synoptize and figure out exactly what we're doing from 10 years ago, I'm sorry, I just could not do that. We had coursework on how you put together a lesson plan, how you would handle situations, how you would teach a particular topic, things like that.
Did you write an essay, for example, how to teach English effectively?
Yes, yeah. That was one of the things I did. How would you present material, things like that? It was really very interesting, and the tutor I had was very helpful in leading me along. Nothing to be apprehensive about at all. I was most apprehensive about going to China, not knowing what to expect when I got there, and never having taught formally in a classroom setting, at a university. So.
And how long does it usually take for a person to get this certificate?
I would think probably a couple of months. Like I said, I rushed mine. I had to get my certificate and get it in. I finished in June, and I was sitting in China in mid-August. And again, you have to send all the things to China. They have to be approved, and they have to send you a written invitation, and then you have to get a visa. And so you've got a lot of lag time in sending and receiving. And sometimes people don't get in a hurry in a foreign country.
So where are they supposed to find you a job of teaching ESL abroad, or you had to find it by yourself?
Well, I looked. Of course, I already had a job. We have a group that are Christians that go and meet with universities in China and plan for the coming year and work with people like myself to place teachers in universities in China. So I had someone doing that for me. Universities, at the very least, provide contact information. They generally provide you with a list of the most popular destinations, websites, contacts, and all. Some of the universities, some of the more prestigious universities actually provide job placement services, help you with your resume, the whole 9 yards. I think you probably pay a little bit more for those universities, those TEFL courses, but generally you shouldn't have too much difficulty finding opportunities overseas. I currently have two friends. They're actually children of some of our best friends that teach in Thailand. So, and they love it. One of them is now married to a young lady from Thailand, and they have a baby girl, and the other one is dating. So, fascinating opportunities there.
Have you ever thought of teaching English in Thailand, of moving to Thailand?
I had thought about Thailand. I thought about South Korea is said to be a good place. I have friends in Brazil. And I really would consider most anywhere. I really enjoy Ukraine. I have spent so much time there, have so many friends there. While I do not speak the language well, I do read it a little bit and continue to work on it. China, the language is just just to me overwhelming because there's no similarity, no background to English, and you have all the symbols, which are very fascinating. And I learned to read some of those, but I don't want to be crude, but I learned quickly that I had to be very careful in my Chinese pronunciation. There are using intonation, the way your voice raises and lowers, varies. You can say a word, I think it's how, and the way you pronounce that can have up to 30 different meanings. Oh. You can actually order or talk about a chicken or a lady of the evening who sells her services, if you get my drift. And I decided that if you had to be that careful with your pronunciation, a man with my accent, my American Southern accent, probably was best left to using interpreters. So I did that. I can order my favorite foods in Chinese, Hong Cha Ning Mong. That's tea with lemon, gobaro, malatong, and a few other dishes. They could understand enough to know what I enjoyed eating, and that was about it.
I see. So why did you decide to choose China? Why, for example, not 1 year in China and to move to another country? Why 3 years? Why so much?
Well, the mission program that I was associated with primarily worked in China. China is a country that it's actually is communist, becoming more so every day. Or when I was there, it was a little more laid back, but there is quite a bit of persecution of Christians there. It's difficult to go to China and be what I call a missionary. The program that I worked with placed Christian teachers there as a way to influence the students and given the opportunity to teach them about Christianity. It also opens up doors for improving cultural relationships. The more friends you have in other countries, the better the world will be. I have a whole different outlook on China after spending time there. I have very, very dear friends there. We still communicate, although because of the social media restrictions, they have trouble interacting on Facebook, Twitter, things like that. They are not permitted to get on there. You have to use a VPN and slip around to do things like that. When I was
you can communicate via WeChat. Yes.
Yeah. I had several of the Chinese services that I used. but my email was monitored. And to be very careful, I set up a separate email account for my communication back and forth to the United States, just so I didn't raise any suspicions. It's a unique experience, but I chose China because of the opportunities. The Chinese government wants everyone in China to know English. That is one of their goals. Encourage that. They require all the students to pass a CET, Chinese English test, and you have to pass the exam in order to get a work permit for the large cities. Otherwise, you're going to be what I call banished, sent back to the rural communities where the opportunities and the pay and all are not nearly as good and the living conditions are not as good. So they have quite a bit of incentives. And because they need teachers, teachers that care about the students and will do a good job, they're willing to let Christian, American, capitalistic people come in and teach, and they try to manage that the best way they can. But actually, China chose me as much as I chose China.
I see. All right. So you were talking about the level of children. What is their level of English? Did you understand them?
Their English was good, but not nearly as good as Ukrainian. They study English from an early age. They have a very rigorous pre-college curriculum. They do a lot of, they go to school 5.5, 6.5 days a week. Their English was good, but because of the background, not speaking Chinese is not similar to speaking English. Ukraine, you have some similarities. Actually, you can understand some words when you break them down or when you see them written out and interpret the Cyrillic. So you've got a little bit more background. So their English was not as good. They had a little bit stronger accent, the Chinese accent there. But I didn't have a tremendous problem there.
Once you told me the situation about the business card and the taxi, was it you that you couldn't find the location? Yes, and it was. Could you tell us how to find the way out?
You talk about me getting lost.
Yes.
Okay. I had not been in China very long. I'm venturesome. I decided that if I was going to live in China, I had to learn to get around. So within the first week, after taking a bus ride or two from our campus, which was located in the northern part of Harbin, China. Harbin, China is a small city of 9 million. It's known as Ice City because the winters are so brutal. They actually have an ice and snow festival where they make all these tremendous, elaborate sculptures, buildings made out of blocks of ice. They're all outside. They start in November, and the sculptures remain in place until April. So I took the bus into town. It was fairly easy to learn how to get in and out of town. I started doing that on my own. Enjoyed it. Going downtown, beautiful pedestrian-only street, kind of like Ivano-Frankivsk. Believe it or not, Harbin has a Russian heritage. The Russians came in there, built a railroad from Vladivostok.
Yeah, so I heard of that. Yeah,
they have a Russian synagogue there that looks a little bit like St. Peter's. Like
like a main. It's like a Russian town. It's a Russian city.
Yeah, it was actually built as a Russian town. Before that, it was just a fishing village. And then once the Russians got it started, it really, the Chinese really took over, but it still has a Russian heritage there. But anyway, I went into town to eat supper one evening. It got dark, and I decided to head out back home, back to campus, about a 30-minute bus ride. I knew to find bus 6, real simple. Just look for a 6 on the front of the bus, hop on, and I'd be home. What I didn't know, there was 2 different bus lines. There was a yellow line and a green bus line. The green line went north. The yellow line went south. I got on the wrong bus.
Wow.
It was about 6 o'clock, dusk. Road started widening. I noticed we were not going the normal way. And I thought, well, you know, buses have different routes. We proceeded for about an hour, and we went deeper and deeper into the city. I saw no landmarks. I am very good at remembering how to get places by landmarks. I'm not geographically challenged, but all of a sudden the bus stopped. The doors opened. Everybody started getting off, and I'm beginning to look around. The bus driver turned off the lights on the bus and got off. I'm in the dark on the bus in a fairly remote part of the city, right in the heart of the city, not lit that very well. And I get off and look around, have no idea where I am. Wow. Luckily, I see what looks like a taxi driver, and I walk over there and pronounce the name of my university in my finest Southern English, thinking that the name of the university would be the same in English and Chinese. No. It's pronounced differently. And I said, Heilongjiang University of Science and Technology. And the poor taxi driver just, no. So I go, okay, I don't know Chinese. I remember that I had the business card from my host at the university who was responsible for us in my billfold. Pulled it out, and lo and behold, on one side it had his name, address, phone number, all the information of the university in English. On the other side, it had it in Mandarin. So I held it up, gave it to the taxi driver. It was so dark. He held it up. He could not read it. Took a cigarette lighter and held it up close to it. That's how dark it was where I was. Scary for an old American there, lost. And he looks at it and he grins and nods and goes,
He was
hands. Yes, I'll be glad to take you. Now, he then proceeds to put me in his private car. Absolute no. You never get in a private car in a foreign country. And I am getting a little nervous. I'll be honest, I was on faith. I trust in God. He got me to China. I didn't think he's going to leave me in the middle of the city. So I got in his private car, and I remembered I had my phone. I have a phone, and I called one of my friends, fellow teachers. And at this time, I was feeling more comfortable because the guy seemed so nice. And although he didn't speak any English, we started off, and all of a sudden I started seeing things that I recognized. And there's a big bridge across the Songhai River, and it's illuminated. And I saw it, and I thought, whoa, we are headed in the right direction. But I called my friend, and I was telling her, I said, I'm in a private car, and I was kind of kidding her. But I got back to my school, and there was I relieved. And actually what had happened was the taxi driver wanted to make money off of the record. So in his private car, and he did not have to report that to the taxi company. So it was all just free and clear money, and he made double or triple what he normally would if he'd taken me in his taxi. So he was just trying to make an extra buck there, and that's what put me in his private car. But he grinned and I grinned, and we nodded and bowed and shook hands, and we were both happy.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, when I bring a group over to Ukraine, I always print out cards with the address in Ukrainian of where we were staying, hotel, and all that, and give to all the foreigners. I learned a valuable lesson there.
Yeah. So did you have any other challenges in terms of maybe Chinese culture or mentality or some other things?
Where did I start? Chopsticks. Went to the cafeteria. I bought a card that allowed me to buy meals, very inexpensive there at the cafeteria. You just show them the card, prepaid card. Went up to get my silverware. There was what looks like what we have, a straw dispenser. Pressed down, out came chopsticks. All it was chopsticks and spoons. I quickly learned that if you wanted to eat, didn't want to starve to death, you learned how to use chopsticks. I'm very good at chopsticks now. I actually enjoy using them. When I eat Chinese, I cannot enjoy Chinese food without chopsticks. The food is a little different. It's pretty standard stuff, rice, noodles, meat, don't ask, don't tell, donkey, whatever. They will eat anything in China. If it moves, they'll eat it. So you have to be a little bit careful. The hygiene, people spit everywhere. Pollution is very bad. Men, women think nothing of spitting on the ground. And I have been spit on by accident. Not very pleasant. I'm not COVID. People, men tend to use the restroom. Some of the less educated, less cultured, maybe alcoholics, wherever they find a spot.
Wow.
Babies don't wear diapers. They have split pants. So when the baby needs to go to the bathroom, they just kind of, the parent kind of holds them out over the street and they do their business. Ukraine is much more modern when it comes to the toilet facilities. Now, I know you get out in the rural areas and you get what you expect. You still do here in America. But China, you think of it as a modern country, not restroom-wise. The cars, the most dangerous place you can be in China is in or near a car. The people are crazy. They honk continually. The people are rude. They do not know how to queue. They're very respectful to foreigners. It was not unusual for a person that I considered older than me.
Unrespectful, yes? Unrespectful.
Yes, very respectful, to offer me their seat on the bus, which I would never.
Respectful, you mean?
Very respectful to a foreigner. You are their guest. You have to be very sensitive. They are very sensitive to and I can't think of the term offhand. They do not. You have to be very careful not to embarrass them. They will try to please you. Even my students, if I mentioned I would like to have something, maybe a souvenir. I was collecting pens. They make beautiful fountain pens in China. And if I even mentioned that, they were obsessed with meeting what they considered a requirement. So that it becomes a mission to them. So you have to be very careful when you say that. It's kind of similar to, I learned this in my early trips to Russia and Ukraine. You compliment something, the people there tend to think, well, I will give you that. I will gift you that. So very interesting there. The fact that it is a communist country, the students, the first month they're in the university, they have mandatory military training, and they have their little uniforms, and they learn to march. It's almost indoctrination. It is indoctrination, and it is to prevent a repeat of the Tiananmen Square incident 20 years ago, where the students had an uprising there in Beijing at some of the universities protesting the lack of freedoms. They did not like that. And so now they have mandatory indoctrination the first month they're there, and they have courses which I would simply call propaganda courses in the evenings. They attend about once a week. It's just, it's a whole different lifestyle. I don't fit in. It's not like I can kind of blend in. I know when I'm in Ukraine, I have people walk up to me sometimes and ask directions. And so I speak with my finest Russian or Ukrainian, Yana Panimayu. And that's about all I can say. So, but I don't have that problem in China. I was about 3 to 6 inches taller than everyone, which was nice because when the bus got there, it was every man for himself. Not a lot of courtesy. You have very, very close friends. You have what we would call a clique, a group of friends that were very close, and mean they stuck together. Everybody else, no concern for, no consideration. Some of the fellow teachers that I taught with at the university from America had children, not unusual. If somebody knocked them down accidentally, for them to just kind of look and go on. No sense of saying, I'm sorry, excuse me. In fact, and enjoyed doing was going into town and opening the door for people. It was surprising the looks you would get. And I was watched continually. I'm an American, and so a lot of pressure there not to let the differences in climate and culture and all begin to wear on you, because honking, cars are terrible about honking. I have been standing on the sidewalk numerous occasions waiting on a bus. A driver would get impatient, and instead of passing on the left, waiting to pass on the left, would just pull up on the sidewalk and start honking for all of us waiting there on the sidewalk there at the bus stop to get out of the way. And it gets a little nerve-wracking. So,
it's experience, yeah.
It was an experience I would not trade for anything.
And what cities did you teach, and what are the highlights of the travel?
Well, I was in, it's called Harbin, northwestern. It is the largest major city in northern China. We are not that far from the Russian border. In fact, the province that the Heilongjiang province that Harbin's located borders Russia. So again, you have a little bit of a Russian influence, and you have cold, dry winters. Record low there is minus 42 degrees Celsius. So you can freeze to death. Harbin, okay. Ask me again. I'm sorry, I drew a blank. you were asking me about the
About highlights. About highlights.
highlights. Okay, the Great Wall of China. You are not a man until you visited the Great Wall of China.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely nothing.
Nothing to see. Yeah?
That's what they say in China. You're not a man until you visit the Great Wall. Would not take anything for that experience. It runs 5,500 or more miles throughout China. Just incredible. We visited the city of Dandong. Now, that doesn't mean much, except it's on the border with North Korea. So you can stand on the border there. The river divides, is a dividing line between North Korea and China. Look across, and it's like looking from the 21st century back into the 1800s, almost. Yeah, the 40s. Yeah, and what you can do, they have a bridge. It's called the Broken Bridge. Goes halfway out. The Americans bombed the bridge during the Korean War. The North Koreans have never rebuilt their half of it. So technically, you can walk out and stand with your foot in North Korea. So that's as far as I got. While I was there, there were several incidents with people from America being that visited North Korea being detained. And in some places, you can get on a boat and take a tour, and they will go over into North Korea and actually stop. And for the people that are brave, you can actually get out and stand on shore. Now, usually there's armed military police there watching you. You're subject to being shot. But what they do is the people that run the tours toss cigarettes to the guards to bribe them a little bit. And so don't shoot anybody that is let out. But I didn't try that. So Dang Dong was quite an experience looking over into northern Korea. We went to Museum 731, which was a little bit like a gulag. It was where the Japanese tested their biological weapons on POWs and on the Chinese citizens. Anthrax, bubonic plague. In fact, there's still incidences of that in the region where I was. It's never been eradicated. And they used this hospital setting to do horrific medical experiments, just like the concentration camps in Nazi Germany. It was a very sobering experience, and it's located the southern part of the city of Harbin. We went to visit a nursing home. Very interesting to meet elderly Chinese people that had grew up back when they had emperors and before when Chiang Kai-shek, which was the kind of the capitalistic pro-American ruler there, and then Mao Zedong and the stories that they had. And it was quite an experience to hold hands with a Chinese lady that had seen so much history and to be kissed by her. She was just so difficult to meet an American, and we would go out there once or twice a month to this nursing home and interact with them, take our guitars and sing to them. Just an opportunity to give back. Let me just say, I've been richly blessed. I'm very fortunate, able to retire early. And what I want to do with my remaining years is serve others, serve God by serving others. And anytime I can do something to help someone, and I feel like teaching English, a very small way. English to me is something that you learn that gives you a leg up in your job opportunities. English is so widely spoken, and today the world, globally is so small. You just need to know English. It's interesting. One of the ladies I taught when I first started teaching English at Friends Speak at my church was from Ivano-Frankivsk.
Oh.
Of all things, I had never been to Ivano-Frankivsk. I'd been to Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
I met her, and she has a sister and brother-in-law that live not too far, probably from where you're sitting, Mark.
Oh,
Visit them. So it's a small world, and know English. Your skill set. You are in the
opportunities.
Yeah.
Big opportunity. And
Yeah.
how do you manage to teach English to those Chinese children who didn't know English at all? What were the methods? How did you cope with that?
That is very difficult for me. It is my thought, my personal opinion, that someone that does not know English, you need to have a working knowledge of their native language. I just had the opportunity not too long ago of teaching a man from Burundi, Africa, did not even know the country existed. He came to America, took approximately 10 years with the UN to finally placing him in Nashville. He spoke Swahili, Swahili personally. But his English was so poor that we spent most of our time in a Burundi English dictionary. Very difficult to make a lot of progress. I prefer to teach conversational English with students that have at least a rudimentary understanding of English. My philosophy in teaching is for the students to see, hear, and read what I am talking about. I use the blackboard all the time, or PowerPoint lessons, so they can see the word. I speak the word, and I speak very slowly, as you can tell. I put about 12 syllables in everything, as most Southerners do, most people from Tennessee. And people find that it's really easy to understand because I don't talk real fast. I don't talk real heavy. So they kind of enjoy that, and I act out. If I'm talking about dancing, I will try to dance. So,
do you use any visuals?
Yes, I am very visually oriented. I'm a mathematician. I don't hear well. That is, I don't comprehend language very well, and I physically have a hearing problem that's inherent. The Durham family is noted for being hard of hearing. In China, the students could tell me their Chinese name. It went in one ear and right out the other. They all have English names, which is kind of interesting. Some of the names that they chose. I had Obama. They also changed their names based on whoever's popular at that time or whatever's going on. So you may call them by their Chinese name. One semester you get back, the fall, they changed names.
So they want to follow this Western culture.
Yeah. So anyway, I like teaching conversational English. I like using humor. I like using idioms. I have found that if when students begin to learn humor, they're beginning to appreciate the language more. That's the reason I really appreciated you introducing me to the university there, King Daniel. My favorite students there, the English students. We have so much fun. I was in China, and we were talking one morning, and they asked me. We had English Corner, which was something that I really miss. For the whole time I was in China, I never missed an English Corner session. English Corner was held in the atrium of the administration building, very cold in the winter, very hot in the summer, no air conditioning. But you come there from 7 to 8 o'clock in the morning, and the English teachers are asked to be there. And those students that wish to improve their English come there, and you just have open discussion. Anything that comes up. So if a student is willing to get up and come there and talk to me at 7 a.m., they want to learn English. And we had so much fun. That's where I developed most of my close friends. I believe that teaching everything in life is about relationships.
Mm-hmm. So mainly the communicative approach, right?
Yes. If people know you care about them, then you have broken down, to me, the most significant barrier. But we would talk about a little bit of everything. That one morning, some of the students, and they'd all gather around me. Sometimes I'd have 10 people standing around me. Do you dance? And I said, no, I've got 2 left feet. Well, guess what they did? They all looked at my feet, immediately thinking I had a handicap. And it was so funny. I just died laughing, and then I explained that to them. But we laughed and we had so much fun. What developed from that was I would invite them to my apartment on Friday evenings. We would have English movies with the subtitles, the captions, and I would bring refreshments. You'd think I had thrown a buffet.
So mainly closed culture, yes?
Yes, I brought some soft drinks, potato chips, and cookies. We would have times 20 people in my little flat. We would come in, but what happened was it broke down that barrier, and they would speak English. They were not afraid to speak English. My favorite statement is by a Chinese philosopher known as Confucius. Do not be afraid to make mistakes and thus turn them into crimes. And what he's trying to say is, don't be embarrassed to speak, to try different things, to try new things. The reason I don't speak Ukrainian, I am easily embarrassed. I will go into a store and we'll have practiced exactly what I want to say or what I want to ask for, and I will absolutely freeze. I can't get it out. And
at least you tried, like you overcame your.
Just pointing. So I am the perfect bad example. But I'd have the students over, and by the way, my best students. I have a student that is finishing up his bachelor's degree in Texas. Had no formal English other than just a little bit what he had in his high school, but he learned English watching movies, animated movies, things like Shrek, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. And I found the same thing true in China. One of my best friends there, he would come over every Sunday. We would watch the latest movie, which he had stolen off the internet, which is a very common thing in China. Doing things under the table, just a way of life there. In fact, if you want a discount at a restaurant, when you pay your bill, you don't ask for a receipt.
Wow.
Receipt, that means they have to pay taxes on it. If you just give them the money, then that's all under the table. So that is just a way of life there. A lot of and things, but so I encourage my students. You can have a lot of fun. I mean, English movies, singing songs, reading. don't just live with video games in your hands. You can do a lot of things that's very enjoyable. You don't even know you're learning English while you're learning it. So that's kind of my suggestion, and that's what I tried to show them on Friday nights. Friday nights in my apartment. So, yeah.
So, and the last two questions. What advice could you give to ESL learners in terms of learning English, and to teachers who are trying to go abroad to teach English?
Okay. I've just listed some of the things about learning English, what I consider some practical suggestions for helping you enjoy to learn English. That is like movies, sing, karaoke.
Karaoke.
Yeah, you can
You have
sing.
here in terms of karaoke.
You can read magazines. Harry Potter. I think I've learned that Harry Potter is a great film series. You can watch the movies. You have the books. The books are actually written in intermediate English. They're not advanced, and they're not too elementary. So they're a great level. And since you're watching the movies, subtitles, and the book, it's easier to put things together. I have found that in context, when you understand the context of what you're talking about, you generally can kind of comprehend. I can comprehend things even in Ukrainian, although my Ukrainian is not very good. And what I try to tell my students, what gets you is you go into a restaurant to order, you say your order and you're all good, you're ready to pay, and then they ask you a question that you're not expecting. Do you want ketchup with that? Would you like some salt? Very simple question. You're not expecting it, and all of a sudden, you just freeze. That's what I do, and I think that's what a lot of students and a lot of people that have, all of a sudden it's out of the blue, and you don't know what in the world they're saying. So, for students, that's my recommendation: movies, reading, music, etc. Anytime you have a chance to converse, email back and forth. That is a great way. Write back and forth and communicate. And I love to communicate and be more than willing. You tell me what you're doing, I'll tell you what I'm doing. Again,
to honor all this activity, yes, what you're doing.
Yes, yeah, and today with the media and the internet and all, you can talk. I don't really like to see myself on. I think of myself as what is known as the ugly American. Okay, I'm got the big jowls and no hair and all this stuff, but I enjoy seeing the faces of people in Ukraine and China and all, and it's a great way, to practice your English. Teachers, they loosen up. It was so funny, and I know the Chinese students thought I was crazy because I'm animated, and the Chinese teachers, very stoic, very reserved, no emotion. And I am laughing, dancing around. I actually scared a girl and she cried in class. I did not mean to. Cannot remember the exact situation. I'm teaching, being animated, and I said something to her in the context of the lesson, and she thought I really mean it. And all of a sudden, and tears started forming. I said, what did I do? And everyone is trying to explain and trying to tell her in Chinese, he's just kidding. And I had to excuse her to go out and compose herself. So I learned the hard way. You have to be very careful. And usually now I preface myself. Now, I'm going to say something to you. I am just kidding.
Yeah. All the time, after every joke, you have to mention, I'm kidding, I'm kidding.
I'm just kidding. This is a joke. It was interesting that the students there, in China, because they have had such a rigorous education before getting to college, when they get to college, they take their first semester off. They're away from home. No one is there watching them. Really, I had no authority to really discipline the students. The students I taught were preparing to go to college, the possibility of taking courses in Canada. And what they were being trained in is the English so that they could take upper level courses in their major, accounting or information technology, taught by Canadian teachers that did not speak Chinese or did not teach in Chinese. So they really had a reason to learn. But they get to college and they kind of relax. It was not unusual for some of the students, especially the guys, to go to sleep in class. I really had very little latitude for discipline because the students paid an exorbitant amount of money to come to my class.
Wow.
The school charged thousands of dollars to be in this international education center, is what it was called, and to have professional Native American speakers teach the language, and the kids could have cared less at first. And then what was funny was about the second year, they realized I am in trouble. And they come back to me and go, Mr. John, won't you help me? And I said, whoa, it's a little late for that. But, we had teachers, what I say, embrace the culture, learn the culture. Before I went to China, we had a 10-day session training. The Christian program called China Calls that sends teachers to China. They do a very thorough job, and they have people come in that have taught in China. In fact, they had a man and woman that were some of the first Chinese missionaries to China in the 1960s. And they came in, they had to leave China and go to Taiwan. But they know China and Chinese backwards and forward. And they tell you all the things to avoid, things you don't do. You don't stick your chopsticks in your rice straight up. That is a faux pas. That is being rude. When a person dies, you have a bowl of incense and you stick the incense, which looks like chopsticks, upright in the bowl. Okay, if you do that in rice, it's like you're at a funeral. Little things like that. You hand your business card to people with both hands.
Yes, I heard that. Yes.
Yeah, learn your culture. It also helps. We had a number of books that we read, and I'm going to look up the book. I've got it here somewhere. And it is one of the best books that I've ever seen. It's written by Chinese. I will send you a list of it, the name of it. I actually have what I'm saying as a PowerPoint presentation I will send to you too. And I cannot find the name of that book offhand. It's I think it's The First Day of School, something like that. But it has some recommendations. One of those which comes to me naturally, was to greet the kids at the door, first day of school, with a smile and a welcome. Get to know them. I use tent cards. You've probably seen my tent cards that I use because I don't remember names well. And I would have them write their names and put the tent cards. And I would take a photograph of the student holding the tent card. That way, I can remember names. I still do that in Ukraine. If I can't do tent cards, I have them write it on the board. And I make them come up, write your name on the board. Most everybody can do that. And your age. Okay, now tell me just a little bit about you. Do you have a brother and sister? Do you have a pet? Okay, what have you done? They're standing in front of class. They're speaking a little bit of English. Yes, they're a little embarrassed. And by the way, I never embarrass a student. If they don't want to do that, I do not push it. If I ask them to read and if I sense at all that they are shy and don't want to do something, I never embarrass anybody.
You don't push them.
Do not push it. That's me. Now, what you can do is work with a student outside of class. I'm very proud of my success with one student. I will not mention him. He was the most shy English student I have had. He was excellent at English, but he was so shy. But we were able to get together kind of out of class, sit down, and I would talk to him a little bit, and able to for him to comfortably move out of his initial comfort zone into one where he actually participated more and felt more comfortable. And that's what I can do because I do this volunteer. I do this because I love teaching. And there's nothing I love more than seeing a student's eyes light up. You know, it's kind of like the light bulb over their head. Come on, whoa, I got that. To make them smile, to make them know they're loved. Unconditional love in China was, from a foreigner, from a stranger, is totally unheard of. People
emotion.
Yeah, that you care about them because even their teachers don't seem to care or don't act like they care. Very unemotional. No, that's a stereotype. So not everyone's that way, but in general, to have a teacher that really interacts. I would go to all of the activities. They have a drama production. They would have a dance competition. They would be doing in an English competition. And sometimes we were invited to judge, but I went to these places. Like I said, I went to English Corner. One of the most fun things I have done, and I did this in Ukraine, not in China. I did it informally in China. I did it formally in Ukraine. Was I had the English students give me a tour of Ivano-Frankivsk. Mm-hmm. And we took the 4 English students, you probably know them, Roxana and Stas and some of the kids there in my English class, and I made them take me out on a walking tour. This is this and this is that. And I actually have several books that are in Ukrainian and English on guides to Ivano-Frankivsk to kind of help them. And I've worked with Helen, who works in the tourism section there at King Daniel, doing things like that to help. Because a lot of times as an interpreter, you're called on it since you were an English major, you may be called on to be an interpreter, diplomat, liaison, whatever. But you also become a tour guide, whether you mean to or not. And in China, what we would do, we had a group of the students that we were close to that really loved English, and they would go with us everywhere we went. We would go into town on Saturdays, go to Starbucks. They would go with us. Well, they were our informal tour guide. What are they doing? Learning English. I mean, immersion, because a friend of mine and myself and the other people that will go, we didn't speak much Chinese. We might practice a little bit on them, but man, that's great practice. So as teachers, kind of enjoy it, have fun. It's an adventure.
To treat it as everyday life, not like a school routine, but it to be more open.
Yeah, and I try to immerse myself. I try to get this ugly American off of me. I try to lose all my American things that well, I don't like that, and well, we don't do that way in America. I hate that. You do you eat what's set before you. You go, you do. Hey, that's the fun part. Going into someone's home, meeting people, riding the bus, taking taxis, bad hair day, don't have a hair dryer. What? You just enjoy it.
So English is a kind of your passion, actually.
Yes, people are my passion. People love interacting with people. I got up at 4:00 this morning. Okay.
Yeah.
To get ready, and it just, it makes my day. To see you and talk to you. You're not the best looking thing I've ever. No, I'm kidding. But
you're right.
I love to kid. I love to joke. I love to just hang out and.
Yes. Thanks a lot, John, for such a interview. I hope you come back to Ukraine as soon as possible until we overcome all that pandemic. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I'm on Facebook as John H. Durham. Yeah. And one of the ways that I kind of improved my Ukrainian and Russian, I started learning Russian because I started going to Donetsk, which that's what they speak there. But a lot of people, a lot of my friends from Ukraine post in Facebook, and they post them in either Ukrainian or Russian. And I start trying to read that because I can see the picture, I know the context, and and you've also got a translate button.
Yeah.
So Instagram and Facebook, things like that.
The link I will put in the description.
Yeah.
If you want me to put any links to support, I don't know, Ukrainian orphans that we were talking about before this interview, I can give you those links.
You see my work.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see the humanitarian things that I work with. I come there to improve, to help people. Not that I have all the answers, but if I can help some small way, they're rewarding. So, yeah.
All the links that you want will be like in the description.
I will send you that.
Yeah. Thanks again a lot for this interview. It was amazing, and we took a lot. I took a lot from this interview, and I hope people will take it.
Anytime, I don't mind getting up early. I'm an early riser. I know we got 8 hours time difference, but hey, any way I can help. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Bye-bye. All my best.
Bye-bye.